This is the front porch of Flannery O'Connor's home. And this is one of the coolest things I've ever done. I mean, for literary nerds like myself. I'm sitting here reading some Flannery O'Connor here on her front porch. And I picked up a copy of her book, her complete short stories here at the house is a museum now. You can walk through the entire house, and it's all almost entirely original furniture, exactly how it was set up when she and her mother lived here. Very interesting tour. Highly recommend it. And when you come here, you can understand so many more elements of her stories. For instance, there were here at this house, it's known as, they call it Andalusia, and here at this house, I'll show you the view from the front porch. Look at that. Now, back in the day, this view would have been all open also. Let's walk over to the front door, show you the view without the screen. The screen was added later. It wasn't a screened front porch when she and her mother lived here. But you can see down to the pond, and all those trees were not here back then. They are these Georgia pines. They grow up so fast. So back then, it was all open pasture land. This was a dairy farm. So none of these trees were here. I assume this big one was. But down the road leading up to the house here, you can see that road. You can see all the way down the road. Now, these trees are all new in the last 15 years. The tour guide said, right now they're building a new building for the museum. You can see some of the construction equipment down there, down on the road that leads up here. But back in the day, this dirt road led up to the house, and the family could see people coming from a long ways away down from the main road, which if it weren't for these trees, you'd be able to see all the way down to the main road. She would be able to sit here on the front porch, and let's get a look at the outside of the house. She would sit out here on the front porch and look at this beautiful view, sit out here reading, usually in the later afternoon hours. And it was all open porch, and you could just see if any visitors were coming down the road there. And I mention that because it's such a common element in her stories that a few different stories. I'm thinking of A Circle in the Fire, a few others, where there'll be a landowning family, somewhat wealthy like her own family, sitting out here on their porch. Often they're sitting here with their employees, which was common, and she and her mother had a family who lived here for a few years. And the family, they were just sort of temporary employees, and they would live here, and if they got along well with the family, the homeowners, they would kind of stay indefinitely and sort of become close and sit out here and gossip. And so you see that in the beginning of Circle in the Fire. You see the main character, the lady of the house. She's sitting out here on the porch, sitting out here with the woman I've forgotten. I think Mrs. Pritchard is the main lady. And they're sitting out here just kind of gossiping about people in the town. And that's when they see, coming down the road, they see those three teenage boys, which, if you've read the story, that spells trouble. And so many elements in her story. I mean, even those, that family of employees who would live in the house comes up a lot. And just this sort of scene of folks sort of leisurely sitting around the porch in the late afternoon, sitting around chewing the fat, talking with each other. Inside the house, I would have loved to have taken a whole video just inside, but I was too busy paying attention to the tour. Fascinating stuff. A lot of insight into Flannery's personal life and her home life. Living here with her mother, they did love each other. They shared this space, but it was complicated too. They had sort of a passive-aggressive relationship in a lot of ways. And the entrance to the home, which is behind that locked door, the entryway, actually you can see hear the tour going on right behind me, so I'll try to be quiet. Behind that door is the entryway, and then Flannery's mother had her office, her desk set up right there behind that entryway. So, and it's kind of at the hub of the house. At the crux of the house is her mother's desk and her office, and her mother was kind of the gatekeeper. People would come looking for Flannery sometimes, looking for an autograph, or journalists would be looking for an interview, and her mother was that first kind of filter. And but also all the doors led to her mother. Her mother was one of sort of a family of matriarchs. Came from a family of women who lived very long, became very strong leaders, very powerful women, and her mother was like that. But there was also a little tension there. I mean, a difference in education, experiences. Flannery had been out and she had seen the world. She had traveled, lived in the East Coast, done the Iowa Writers Workshop, got a lot more education than her mother, a lot more of a cosmopolitan experience than her mother. And so that led to some tension, just like it almost always does when there's that sort of differential between two generations in a family. And it's hard to know how to navigate that, and how to say, I still do love and respect you, even though I know things you don't know, which is the case for anybody. All of us know things other relatives don't know, vice versa. So being here, you can feel that and imagine what life was like. And then Flannery's bedroom is, now the shades are drawn. Her bedroom's down at that far end. Interesting thing about her bedroom also, and it's all the original furniture in there. You can see her crutches that are in there. She was debilitated by lupus, of course. When she lived there, she had everything set up so it was easy for her to move around with minimal use of the crutches. But it's also set up in there so that her desk doesn't face the window. So her desk doesn't face this beautiful view right here, because the theory of writing she had learned was that when you're writing, you need to stare inward and look into a dark void. You don't need to be looking at a beautiful picturesque scenery. So her desk faces away from the window, and it's all sort of enclosed. It's just a closed space, and that was how she got things done. She was productive and would sit there for 3 hours and get it all done. And of course she was productive and prolific. It's I almost don't really want to talk anymore. I just want to sit here and experience this. I'm going to read some more of her book here on the front porch. This is an just unbelievable experience. Unforgettable. Highly recommended if you're anywhere near Milledgeville here in central Georgia. Flannery O'Connor's house.